The more I look at it, I'm starting to wonder, is Coastal Carolina actually better than Auburn? It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Okay, we will get to what the standards should be in the Sunbelt. A couple of questions there, and we'll try to delve into the future of college sports, which seems to be changing on a daily basis. But we'll talk about that, kind of reviewing what we did a couple of days ago with our guy, Brian Smith from Locked On, the portal. Now, let's talk a little bit about Coastal Carolina and Auburn. And this is a really close matchup. It may be, according to FanDuel, the closest matchup in the Super Regional, okay? And, of course, Auburn fans are going to tell you that's not possible because Coastal Carolina is in the Sun Belt. How can that possibly be the case? All right. Auburn right now, and Warren Nolan has an RPI of number 2, and Coastal is actually up to number 5. All right. Coastal Carolina is 51-11. They are winners of, is it 20 in a row? 21 in a row. Okay. And Auburn, 41-18, strength of schedule 2. As we've seen over the last few weeks with the discussion on all the college football and how the SEC kind of, I'm not sure manufactures it, but does a good job of setting themselves up with the good RPIs. Auburn's going to have a good RPI, and the SEC has good RPIs because they play each other, because they have good RPIs. Okay. That's the way it is. But you start looking at this, and where does Auburn have the major advantage? They hit a few more home runs. They do. They have 86 home runs to Coastal Carolina's 62. That's a major advantage. I will say, in the SEC, not so much. That is they're 10th out of 16th. All right. So while they hit a bunch more home runs, guess who has scored more runs? Auburn has scored 448 runs. Coastal Carolina has scored 471 runs. They've hit, what did I say, 24 less home runs, and yet they've scored more than 20 runs more than Auburn. So Auburn doesn't have that big a deal. They hit a few more home runs, and they do have some more power hitters than Coastal Carolina does. All right. But Coastal Carolina makes up for it on the base paths. Auburn has 64 stolen bases in 82 attempts. Coastal Carolina has 106 stolen bases in 133 attempts. All right. So Coastal Carolina has more stolen bases than Auburn has attempts. I will say, have not seen Auburn play virtually at all this year. Used to watch them all the time. Again, I like Butch Thompson. I like their program, although it does seem like every other year he's about to get fired, and then every other year he's about to get another job. When it first came open, they were talking about him getting the Virginia job. All right. It's just the way it happens. Seems like every other year he's going to the Super Regional, and then he's getting fired. But I like Butch Thompson, and I like Auburn. But I will say it doesn't seem like anybody runs too much on the opposition. Both good defensive catchers. We know about Caden Bodine with Coastal Carolina. Auburn has good defensive catchers too, because 28 out of 45. That's it. Opponents have only attempted 45 stolen bases against there's a 48, 45, 28 out of 45. So no one's attempting a lot of stolen bases against Auburn. They've been successful 28 times, thrown out 17 guys. All right. Same thing with Coastal Carolina. They've attempted 47 bases. They've been successful 30 times. They've thrown out the same 17 guys. All right. Pretty good. So really good defensive catchers. I thought that was going to be, when I first saw Auburn stats, I thought it was going to be a big-time advantage for Auburn. Not so much. Got basically the same percentage. All right. But you start getting to that pitching, and that's where it is a huge advantage. And this is going to be the cliche I'm going to use, because this is the way, and I know they're going to talk about it, but it is an absolute cliche, because this is the way that Coastal Carolina is going to win this series. It is going to be a 27-out ball game, because Auburn knows coming in, what did we say, the 11th ERA in the SEC, they don't win games 3-2. Coastal Carolina can. They just beat ECU 1-0. That doesn't happen very often. They just did lose in the SEC tournament to Texas A&M 3-2, but that is few and far between for Auburn. All right, they just did beat NC State to clinch the regional 11-1, but that's more along the lines of the scores for Auburn. All right, 8-5, 9-5, 13-8 win. They lost to Ole Miss 15-11. They lost to Ole Miss 9-2. They beat Jacksonville State last midweek game 19-1. They beat South Carolina 11-3. They beat South Carolina 11-10. They beat them 24-2. Right? The bats are really good. All right, pitching not so much. They beat Tennessee 8-1. Lost to Tennessee in a close ball game. Looks to be 11 innings, 5-4. They beat Tennessee 6-1. All right. They beat Mississippi State 14-8. They lost to Mississippi State 12-7. You get the idea. There was a 1-0 midweek ball game against Georgia Tech. That's impressive. 1-0. All right. And there was a Friday night ball game. They lost to Texas 3-2. In fact, they got swept by Texas 3-2, 8-3, 14-7. All right. But you're seeing high-scoring ball games. I'm not even sure Coastal Carolina has to pitch to their averages. But if somehow they do, and they're not giving up, 4 or 5 runs, they're giving up 4 or 5 runs a game at most, Coastal Carolina is going to win this series. And it may not be close. If this series starts being 8, 9, 10 runs to win, then Auburn's going to be in it. But if all of a sudden this is kind of 7-4 ball games, Coastal Carolina's got the advantage because their pitching is much, much better. Well, Dave, Coastal Carolina was pitching in the Sun Belt. That's fair. That's true. And the Sun Belt was down. So we'll see. Jacob Morrison did not pitch well a couple of his last times out. Did not pitch well against ULM. They got a big inning late in that ball game to win that ball game, and he didn't pitch particularly well in the regional. He gave up, I think he went 5 innings, gave up 4 runs. All right, that's true. However, if we're going on the season-long way, he's the pitcher of the year. Let's see if he steps up. The Auburn starting pitchers have not pitched well. They have actually got some really good outings by the bullpen guys who have come in after their starters have had some short outings. So that's where they may have the advantage. Some of these guys are coming in after their starters are only going a couple of innings and really providing some outstanding middle and long relief. That's where Auburn may have an equalizer, not necessarily an advantage, but an equalizer to where the starters may not be going more than 3 or 4 innings or maybe even 2. And yet we got guys that can come in and eat up 4 or 5 innings to get to the back end of the bullpen. You start looking at it, Coastal is very even to Auburn. And we're going to tell you how even right when I tell you about FanDuel. And then we're going to ask, what should the Sun Belt standards be for their teams? All right. I'll tell you about FanDuel right now. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. And with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. You want to know how close the Super Regional is? According to FanDuel, Auburn is a minus 162 favorite. Coastal Carolina is a plus 126 underdog. For comparison's sake, LSU, minus 340 favorite. West Virginia, plus 250 underdog. That gives you an example of how close this Auburn Coastal Carolina Super Regional is. New to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Please do me a favor. Again, I need to remember to do this at the beginning. Please subscribe to the audio podcasts, Apple and Spotify. We're located everywhere, but those seem to be the most popular. Easy to listen to on your way to work, when you're working out. Maybe you're taking a nice walk, cleaning up around the house. It would be a big help if you subscribed to the Lockdown Sunbelt on either Apple Podcast or Spotify. I would appreciate that. Thank you so much. Again, we're having a record week in, well, both actually, audio and video. So thank you very, very much. All right. So what should the standards be when it comes to the Sunbelt? Because we're talking college football playoff, trying to get, obviously, the SEC, trying to get as many automatic qualifiers as possible. I just saw Ryan Day from Ohio State saying the Big Ten should get 4 automatic qualifiers. Settle down. All right. And when it comes to baseball and softball, for that fact of the matter, those are the two sports, among others, but those are the two big ones that the Sun Belt can legitimately compete at nationally. All right. Is softball and baseball. Right? That's a baseball, a football team is probably not going to win a national championship. Let's be honest. All right. My guy, Dino Babers, was not in favor of the playoff because he's like, there's no way we can compete. This is Syracuse he was talking about back in the day. No way we can win 3 ball games. We're going to be lucky to win 2. Just because I can't compete with the depth that Alabama and Michigan have. And that's got to be the same thing for the Sun Belt. Now, I fully believe, I do fully believe, others don't, that somewhere along the way, one of those G5 teams is going to beat a Power 5 school. All right, that's the way it's going to happen. Happens in the NCAA tournament all the time. I know that's a lot different than football, but somewhere along the way, whether quarterback gets hurt or whatever happens, a G5 school is going to upset a Power 5 school, or you're going to get a lower ranked Power 5 school taking down one of the big time schools. You're going to get a major upset in the playoffs. All right. That is going to happen. All right. Somewhere along the way. I don't happen to think that a Sun Belt school is going to be able to make a run. Just don't have the bodies, right? You just don't have it. And it'd be nice if they did, but I don't think you have it. I think the goal for the Sun Belt is to get there. I do. I think is that somewhere along the way, have that special season where you beat that Power 5 school. It may be one of those second-tier Power 5 schools that you go on the road and win, and then you go undefeated, and you win the Sun Belt Championship, and you get in there, all right? And then all of a sudden, you're representing, I don't know if you're going to end up beating who you're going to play, but you get to the playoff. And that is a possibility when it comes to the Sun Belt. I do believe that somewhere along the way, we're going to get a Sun Belt team into the college football playoff if they let us. They may not let us, but all right, whether they can win a championship, I happen to think that's far-fetched. Baseball, I think they can, right? Coastal Carolina won a championship. That's before the Sun Belt. I think they have a shot at doing this. I'm not sure there's a dominant team, right? LSU just barely got in, right? They needed to be clutch towards the end just to get in to the Super Regional to beat Little Rock of all teams. We'll see if Coastal Carolina can get in past Auburn. I think it's even. Southern Miss, right, was about to get into their 4th super regional in 5 years. They can compete. Cajuns think they can compete. All right. And we know what the Cajuns used to be when it comes to softball. We'll see if can get that back moving forward. They got 5 players or so competing in the College World Series now for Texas Tech. Obviously, a little cash was handed over to Stanford pitcher, but that's a different story. But it is the story. You're going to have to pony up in this day and age to compete. All right. Same for basketball. All right. I don't think a Sun Belt team can win a national championship. Doesn't mean they're not trying to compete for one. All right. But if you get to the Sweet 16 as a Sun Belt team, that's really good, isn't it? Now maybe someone else knocks off the higher seed, and maybe you make a run. You make a George Mason type run, or a Florida Atlantic run. That may be a little bit much, but that kind of thing. Maybe you get hot. You get the 3-pointer is kind of the equalizer. That's kind of tough to do in the day and age of NIL, but nonetheless, you can get to the tournament, and you can win a game or two. Winning a national championship is tough, but I think baseball you can compete, softball you can compete, basketball and football you're just trying to get there and maybe win a game or two. That's what I think the standards are. That's what I think. I don't think the coaches are going to believe that, right? I think all coaches are trying to win a national championship. At least that's what they tell you. I think there are some limitations to those beliefs. I think you're trying to push your kids to believe that. And yeah, I think there are some limitations to that, right? You can pull off one miracle. It's kind of tough to pull off 4, right? When Team USA was trying to beat the Russians, we don't have to beat them 9 out of 10 times. We got to beat them once. And they did. So, you can pull off one miracle. It's kind of tough to beat them numerous times. So I think the standards for the Sun Belt should be getting to a postseason, competing for the national championships, and trying to get as far as you can in baseball and in softball, because you should be able to get to Oklahoma City and Omaha. Not easy. No one's saying it's easy. You saw what happened to Southern Miss. They had it laid out in front of them. I know they lost to Columbia, but Wright State did them solid. They would have been hosting the Super Regional, and Louisville would have been going to them. But they couldn't quite get the job done. But that's what I think the standard should be. You guys let me know what you think the standard should be. I'm not slighting Arkansas State, which is a bowling dynasty. I do know that. All right. All right. Let's talk about the future of college sports, kind of carrying that over, that conversation over as well. We'll do that with more thank yous. All right. It seems like we're going to have a record-setting week, somewhere between 7,500 and 10,000 views. You guys are the best. I know it helps when we continue to go through the weekend. We'll probably continue to go through the weekend as well. And it's a late night. I think the Coastal Carolina game is late night. We may have to skip the workout on Saturday morning. I think it's like a 9 p.m. Eastern time ball game. I doubt I'm going to stay up that late. I do have to get some sleep to go to work the next day, but I can get up and watch what I missed and then get up and do the podcast. We'll skip the workout, or else get up really early, do the workout, watch the game while I'm working out, and then do the podcast. Still need some time to do that. But thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And once again, not only subscribe to the YouTube channel, but please subscribe to the Apple and the Spotify, both under Locked On Sunbelt. So it is a big, big help to get those audio downloads as well. Really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, the future of college sports. It does seem to be moving at warp speed. And there are a lot of unintended consequences that I did not see coming. All right. It did end up being pay for play, which we probably should have saw coming. All right. That's what it is being. And I think some schools are not going to be able to handle that. And I'm not just talking Sunbelt schools. We're talking some mid-level Division I schools. I'm not sure my Syracuse Orange are going to be able to handle that. They are so anti, at least they were until Fran Brown got there, so anti NIL. They chased away one of their basketball NIL guys. They didn't want any part of his dealings. Although I'm still not sure what is the big deal about celebrities sitting courtside. How does that help anything? I never understood that, but okay. And so what is it going to look like? All right. I don't blame NIL. I really don't. Players should have been getting paid a long time ago. I know back in the day, just happy to get on the field and play and have college paid for. I get it. All right. That was when it wasn't quite as big as moneymaker. All right. The colleges are now making millions and millions of dollars. The coaches are now making millions and millions of dollars. The TV networks are making millions and millions of dollars. And the kids are getting their education paid for. One has changed and one has not. All right. The cost of education has gone up, but that's money going around in a big circle. All right. The thing that has ruined it in the meantime is the transfer portal. That has to be under control. All right. And you have to do that to where it really should be once a year. All right. Not only do we have, the wild, wild west when it comes to free agency, it's happening multiple times a year. And that seems to be wrong. All right. You get it one time a year in football or in sports, in professional sports. You should get it one time a year. You shouldn't be able to get it, after you don't make the cut in spring football. That's, if you want it after the season, okay. And it should be after the bowl games. That's fine. Right. But if you get it and you don't like where your spot is after spring ball, oh, well, compete. Now, if the coach changes, then that should be the exception. Right. They're going to have to negotiate with the players. That's what's going to happen because you're going to have to get a, quote, salary cap. I guess that's what the House settlement is going to be, because it's going to be $20 million. And somewhere along the way, you're going to have to get a contract with the players because you can't have the players moving around all the time. You can move once for free, meaning nothing being held back. And you get a movement if your coach leaves, right? Fired or takes another job, right? But you can't be moving like 5-6 times. I don't know if that benefits anybody. I still like the idea of these kids, being able to, get a paid for postgraduate degree, and no one's saying that you got to get, $100,000 a year and end up with, somewhere between $500 to $1 million in your bank account. But what if you just go to college and get somewhere between $10,000 and $25,000 a year? I'll just take the crumbs, coach. That's it. Say you go to junior college, you're obviously not getting any money there, but you go for 2 years there and you do well enough to get some money, but now you got 4 or 5 years to compete. And then you're finishing up school in 2 years, but now you got 3 more years to play. And now you can go to law school. Again, going to law school and playing sports maybe not quite as easy as it sounds, but okay. Also, I don't want to hear it from Greg Sankey that he's not going to take responsibility for bringing down college sports. Yeah, you are. You're protecting the SEC, but yeah, you are. And I know the SEC's got a lot. I like SEC football too. I do. But other people want to play. Other people want to have a chance. And when you guys had a chance to prove how good you weren't all that good against other teams. You guys don't play very many road games. Alabama had a streak there of not playing a true road game. Same with LSU. They play at Lambeau Field, which is cool, but not at Madison. Things like that. Which I think the campus trips now are neat. Like Alabama had a home and home with Texas. Very cool. All right. They actually split those. The road team won each one. I did actually call back in the day that Texas was going to go into Alabama and beat them. Now they actually lost before that, but I said their next home loss is going to be against Texas. I'd called that for a couple of years. I did call it. Nonetheless, I think we're going to be fine. We do need somebody in charge. It doesn't seem like right now it feels like Greg Sankey's in charge, and Greg Sankey does not have the best interests of the game at heart. Greg Sankey has the best interests of the SEC at heart. That's his job. Can't really blame him for that, but he's not really looking big picture for college sports. He's looking big picture for the SEC, and that's his job responsibilities. His job responsibilities doesn't say, protecting college sports. His job responsibilities is create best possibility for creating revenue for the SEC and how I can win championships for the SEC. That's his job. And he's taking that to heart. Doesn't matter that he's going to be blamed for said downfall should there be a massive downfall. Right? Now, I will also say this. I have said for decades, we're going to run out of money somewhere along the way. That has yet to happen. I thought many moons ago we would run out of money. We have not. All right. SEC keeps on getting money. The Big Ten ends up getting money. NFL gets more money. Baseball didn't seem to do very well with the money. NBA seems to have gotten money. So somewhere along the way, we're going to run out of money, you would think, but not yet. I think we're going to be okay is the major point out of all this. But someone needs to be in charge. If it's Nick Saban, that's fine. But someone's got to be in charge and say, these are the 1, 2, 3 steps we're going to do right now. 4, 5, 6 is coming, but we need to get a hold of the transfer portal, NIL, and the playoffs. And the rest will start to take care of itself. Because those are the 3 pressing issues. And once we figure that out, right, and maybe those may be the only 3 pressing issues. We'll figure those out as we go along. I think we're going to be okay. I will say, as usually is the case, the little guy's going to get smushed. Always seems to be the case. It would be nice if someone stood up for the little guy somewhere along the way. If we had a voice. Doesn't seem like we have a voice. The SEC's got plenty of voices, right? The SEC's got plenty of media, both nationally, digitally. They got plenty of voices. It would be nice if someone stood up and said, hey, wait, there's plenty of us too. I know there's a lot more of you and there's a lot more money with you guys, but there's a lot of us to go around as well. And you might not need us, but it'd be nice to include us. All right. I did say yesterday that I wouldn't mind it if the Big Ten and the SEC went to go do their own thing. Now, a couple of things to go with that. I don't want Clemson and Florida State going with the SEC. They can have it as they are now. The Big Ten, though, I would take the Pac-12 and put them back to the way they were. Washington, Oregon, UCLA, and USC back to the Pac-12, and let's put that back together, and then everybody else can get together. We can have the Big Ten and SEC championship over there, and we can have our own national championship over here. I wouldn't have any problem with that whatsoever. If they want to have their little thing over there, let them do it. I'm sure they'll have plenty of money and plenty of eyeballs on that, and we'll have plenty of money and plenty of eyeballs over here. All right. If they want to play in their own little sandbox, they can go play in their own little sandbox. All right. We're playing our little own sandbox. They'll have the Southeast and the Midwest. We'll have the Northeast, Texas, and the rest of the country. All right. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. All right. And then wouldn't be surprised if they came back crawling to us. Maybe we can work something out. Come back, because they won't have anybody else to play. They'll just be playing each other. They won't be worrying about 8, 9 conference games. They're going to be playing 12 conference games, or else they're going to be playing each other, because we won't play them. No, we'll have plenty of action, but they will just be playing amongst themselves. All right. We are planning, at least in theory, to have a full Coastal Carolina-Auburn preview with our guys from Locked On Sunbelt. That's the plan for Friday. I'm going to have a theory that they're not going to agree with me that Coastal Carolina is not better than Auburn. Call me crazy. We'll see how that goes. All right. Let me know what you guys think. I got a feeling I got an idea. All right. But we'll see. We'll see what Auburn fans think. I think it's going to be really close. All right. It could be a sweep either way. I'd be shocked if it's a blowout, but maybe Auburn's bats are really good. They are. They are good. We'll see if Coastal Carolina's pitching can quiet Auburn's bats down, because I don't think Auburn's pitching is going to quiet Coastal Carolina's bats down. All right. The key is going to be Auburn's bats versus Coastal's pitching, or the other way around. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a great Thursday, everybody. We'll talk to you again on Friday.